Hello and welcome to the Electricians Hangout. Really sorry that it's been such a long time since I've made any tutorial videos for you guys. Things have been really busy. I have a lot of stuff going on in my life. But at the end of the day, you know, I do love doing these tutorials for you guys and providing information that hopefully helps you guys in any projects that you might plan to take on or any issues you might run across. But anyways, I had a couple of guys, more than one person, that asked me to do a tutorial on electrical tool lists. Unfortunately, I don't have every single tool that you guys should have on your tool list, but the majority of them that you should have on your tool list I do have. So this video will give you a really good idea. Some of the tools that I don't have, I'll talk about a little bit. So hopefully when it's done, you'll have a pretty good idea of the tools that you need to get started. Okay, without me rambling on like I usually do, because I need to get this done and get it out there, especially since I kept you all waiting so long. Need to get a few things out there and out in the open and make a few things clear. First of all, there are different types of electrical work that you could get involved in. You have residential type work, you have commercial type work, you have industrial type work. Your tool list is going to ultimately have to be aligned with the type of work that you're doing. In other words, there are going to be different tools that are needed for different types of electrical work. For instance, personal tool list you might have in, say, the commercial industry might involve, say, some type of reaming tool, because you end up running a lot of conduit. You probably want like a magnetic angle finder of some type for when you're bending your conduit, things of that nature. A roto split tool, because when you're not running conduits, you may be running some type of armored cable or MC type cable. So certain tools are going to be needed for certain types of electrical work. This tool list that I'm going to share with you guys today is going to be more so geared towards residential work. And like I said, I'm missing some of the tools that I should have in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with two of the tools that you should definitely have on your residential tool list that I don't have here, so I don't forget to include them in the end. And the first is a hacksaw. No electrician should be without a hacksaw. When you're doing residential work, if say you're putting in a service and it's a 200 amp service and you're running 200 amp service cable, believe me when I tell you, the alternative to a hacksaw can be quite expensive, and that's cable choppers. And most of us aren't in it to be, say, if you work for an electrical contractor, chances are they will have that tool and provide that tool for you. But on your personal tool list, hacksaw. And in the absence of cable cutters, and you're running something like 150, 200 amp service cable, you're not going to be able to chop that with your side cutters. You might be able to hack away at it with your dikes or something like that, but that would make for a really ugly, nasty, tedious job, and it would just be flat out unprofessional. So hacksaw, okay? Another tool that should definitely be on your tool list that I don't have here is a level, torpedo level. Torpedo levels, unlike carpenter's levels, are smaller. Most are 6 inches, and it'll have a 45 degree bubble, a 22.5 degree bubble, and a level bubble. One for just checking something for being level, whether it be horizontal or vertical. Actually, I'm wrong. Let me correct that. You have a horizontal level, a vertical level, and a 45 level. You had to actually get a special one that had a 22.5. But basically, on your torpedo level, you'll have 3 different bubbles on there. One will be for vertical and horizontal, and the other will be for 45. Okay, and I don't have that here, so I can't really demonstrate that to you and show it to you the way that it should be shown. But anyways, we're going to jump into the things that I do have here, and I'll just go from left to right. It's in no specific order whatsoever. Just randomly set the stuff here on the table, and left to right just seems to be the way to go here. All right, and the first thing we have is a sheetrock saw. When you get involved with residential work, you're going to need a sheetrock saw. And most of the time when you use a sheetrock saw, it'll be for doing a job where you're going into a finished situation, and you more than likely have to cut something in, like say an outlet box or a box for a switch or something like that. But the sheetrock saw will make your life a lot simpler. You can accomplish the same thing with a razor knife and a hammer, but the professional way to do it would be to use the sheetrock saw, or some people call it a keyhole saw. Anyways, that's that. I mean, this is kind of self-explanatory. It's not a whole lot of demonstrating that needs to be done with it, so we're gonna just leave it at that's something that you should have on your tool list: a sheetrock saw, or you may hear it referred to as a keyhole saw. All right, this is what's called a crimping tool. A crimping tool is used to crimp connectors on the end of wire, stranded wire, that is. You don't want to try to put a Steakon. Some people will call these Steakon pliers, but it's actually just crimping pliers is the proper name. Steakon is a brand of connectors that you can connect to the end, or forgive me guys, it's been a long night. I worked all night. I'm sorry, I'm being silly. But Steakon is actually a brand name for terminals that you could put on the end of your wires. You have many different manufacturers out there. Steakon is just one of them. And Steakon actually make crimping type pliers, and that's what these pliers are used for. I don't really have any stranded wire to do a demonstration. All the wire that I have laying around is solid, and trying to put a Steakon on the end of a solid wire is not a good idea. So crimping pliers or Steakon pliers, people will call them a lot of different things, but you may hear them by either name. So if you hear them say Steakon pliers, this is what they're talking about. Crimping pliers, same thing. Of course, as an electrician, you're going to want to have wire strippers. These wire strippers will strip anything from 18 gauge to 10 gauge wire. Again, they're pretty self-explanatory. I guess I could probably go through some of the things that you could do with them. You could use it to make hooks on the end of your connector when you're going to put them on an outlet. That's what these holes are for. I guess that would really have to be like a tutorial that's different than this one, you know, showing some different techniques and strategies for using certain tools. But definitely want to have strippers on your tool list. Both of these tools kind of sort of serve the same purpose. This is an older tool. Both of them, again, serve the same purpose, and what they are, they're Romex strippers. Romex is a non-metallic sheath cable, NM cable, and it has like a plastic sheath on the outside. This one is called a Romex ripper, and these ones they refer to as Romex strippers, but they pretty much accomplish the same thing. I guess it all boils down to your preference and what you're used to using. With this one, you actually slide it up on a wire, hold down on it, and it actually rips the Romex, and you're able to. With this one, you put it across your Romex, clamp down on it, and you look at it. It has 14-2 and 12-2. But for 3 conductor, this doesn't work out too well. Neither does this, for that matter. I mean, personally, if I'm doing 3 conductor, I use a razor knife, which is further down the line there. But Romex strippers is something that you can have on your tool list, but to be honest, is not a necessity. You could actually do this work without having either one of these tools. Okay. Channel locks, or the real name is tongue and groove pliers. Channel lock, again, just like with Steakon, channel lock is a manufacturer. You know, people got so used, I guess, over time to calling them channel locks that's pretty much, yeah, somebody asks for channel locks, this is what they give you. But actually, the name for it is tongue and groove pliers. Tongue and groove pliers or channel locks is definitely something that you want to have on your tool list. And I just have one size here. They come in different sizes. So definitely want to have channel locks or tongue and groove pliers on your tool list. Alright, these are called diagonal cutting pliers. If you were in an electrical trade, they have an actual trade name for these, and they call them dikes. But they're diagonal cutting pliers, and you definitely want to have diagonal cutting pliers on your tool list. Okay. All right. Now this particular tool here is like the electrician's most used tool. These are called side cutting pliers. You'll hear a lot of people call it, yep, that's the electrician's hammer. And I'll tell you, never ever use your side cutters as a hammer. You shouldn't, because it weakens the jaws, and over time it makes them very difficult to open and close. When you get a brand new pair, until you wear them in, they're going to be very, very, very stiff and hard to open and close. But as time goes on and you use them, they'll get looser and looser. You could always use like WD-40 or something like that to help speed up the process. But for the most part, side cutting pliers are going to be one of your most used tools. Matter of fact, mine have a place, and it's right there just like that. Alright, enough of that. But side cutters, if you're an electrician and you don't have side cutters, then you're in sad shape. What we have here is Phillip head and flathead screwdriver. Technically, I have some insulated screwdrivers in my bag. I just happened to grab these guys, but these are Klein. They do have an insulated handle, which is fine for the job, but you definitely want to have an assortment of flathead and Phillip head screwdrivers, different sizes, different point sizes, and different shank sizes. And I mean, you just want to have, most of the time, like Klein makes a like a kit that has different type sizes of screwdrivers in them. You know, it's a lot easier to just get a kit because it'll have the most commonly used sizes in it. For this tutorial, instead of me digging up a bunch of screwdrivers and having a bunch of stuff here, just grab two, one 6-inch and one 8-inch. Anyways, this is called a scratch-all. A scratch-all is not for residential work, is not mandatory. The scratch-all is used when you're doing a lot of drilling. You use a scratch-all to score a metal surface that you're getting ready to drill on, and what that does is it keeps your drill bit from walking around on you when you're doing layout type work. So actually a scratch-all will be more imperative for someone doing, say, commercial type work, given the fact that commercial type work oftentimes is going to require you to do a lot of layout, especially if you're running conduits into a cutout box or something of that nature, and you're running a lot of conduits. You're going to be doing a lot of layout, period, irregardless. The scratch all allows you to make sure that when you lay your box out and you got X marks the spot and you want to get dead center of that X, you hit the dead center of that X with your scratch all and score it in such a way that when you put your drill bit on there and you start drilling, it's not going to move around and you move off of your X marks the spot point. So when you lay out all of your holes, everything will be perfect. That's the point of having a scratch all. Right. Flashlight, self-explanatory. What we have here is a circuit checker. A circuit checker, it's again, if you're not very experienced in a trade, this could be a big help. But I would definitely suggest looking at some of my earlier tutorials on how to check an outlet. I believe it was one of my first tutorials where I showed the different parts of the outlet and how to use a meter to make sure that the outlet is wired properly. That's what this guy here does. It checks the outlet. It has little graphic pictures on the top of it here that gives you the definition of what the indicator lights are showing. Basically, it'll check for no ground, reverse polarity, if it's actually wired properly, the absence of a neutral, the absence of a hot wire, things of that nature. So it will actually, a lot of things that you could do with the meter, you could just stick this guy in there and it'll give you a code with the lights, which will tell you if the outlet is wired properly or not, and if it's not, tell you exactly what's going on there. An adjustable wrench, again, an adjustable wrench can definitely help you in residential work, but it's not a necessity. Something like an adjustable wrench would definitely be something you would want to have if you're doing like commercial and industrial type work, definitely, but it is not a necessity for residential. Razor knife. Now, a razor knife will definitely serve the purpose when you're doing electrical work. Actually, some electricians prefer using a razor knife, but you also have an electrician's knife. An electrician's knife is a little different than, say, a razor knife. It's actually hooked at the end, and it's more geared to help you strip wire in a more uniform fashion with the pointed tip. I don't have one to show you guys. I apologize. That should have been at the beginning of the tutorial, but luckily I picked this up in it, electrician's knife. But a razor knife is definitely something that you're going to have in your toolbox. Self-explanatory, when you're stripping wire, you're going to need it. So that's that. Tape measure. You're definitely going to want to have a tape measure when you're doing electrical work in your house. For residential, is definitely something that you want to have. Again, self-explanatory. And of course, we had meters. I've done tutorials on meters before, so I'm not gonna rehash that here. You definitely want to have, if you don't have a meter, you don't know what you're doing, or I'm not gonna say you don't know what you're doing, but you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know if it's hot, energized, not energized. You definitely need to, if you can't measure it, you can't control it. It's that simple. Gotta have a meter, because you need to know the situation that you're going into, and a meter is your first line of defense there. Obviously, a screw gun. Screw guns save you a lot of time and frustration. Again, if you don't know how to use a drill, I guess you guys can put a request in, and I'll do a video specifically on how to use a cordless drill. But for the most part, it should be self-explanatory. And the tool list thing is like I said, a lot of times it's all about preference, your style of working, and the way you like to work. I mean, definitely some tools are necessities, but not all of the tools that I showed are required, especially when I indicated that it wasn't. But again, depends on the type of work that you're performing, whether it be residential, commercial, industrial, the types of tools that are you're definitely going to have, something that you're going to need in your toolbox. This particular tool list here is a very small one, and it's certainly geared more towards residential. And I figured that would be the best thing to do, especially since most of the tutorials that I do are geared towards residential work. So hopefully that helped the two guys that asked me to do the tool list. Like I said, I apologize for not having everything that I should have here, but actually I have the items that I don't have, like my hacksaw things. I actually do, but they're in different places. You know, I move. Anyways, that's not important. What's important is I gave you guys a very basic tool list here. And another thing, as you work in this trade, your tool list will actually grow. You know, as you progress and do this for a while, you'll always end up spending a little bit here and a little bit there, adding to your toolbox. So you also want to keep that in mind. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here because, like I said, I worked last night. I'm tired and I really just want to go to bed. So hopefully I covered everything. If I missed something, you guys can leave a comment, let me know, and I'll come back and I'll do this again. And thanks for watching. I appreciate it. So until the next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.